Hello and welcome back to Lily's Library. So today we are going to be going through all of the books I read in December as well as the books that are on my TBR in January. So we've got quite a few stacks to get through. So I'm going to start with my wrap up and then move on to the books I'm planning on reading. So the first book that I read in December was actually an e-arc, and that was of Cursebound by Sarah El-Arifi. This is the second book in the Feybound trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy. I did enjoy this. It wasn't as good as Feybound, in my opinion. I just feel like it was quite rushed at times and the pacing was a bit off. Sequels are notoriously hard to nail, and I think this one just was a miss for me. A lot of the decisions that the characters made it just didn't really align with what we already know of them, and it's had like substantiated and set up with them. So I just think that was a bit of a miss, but it was still like a solid book and a decent enough book as well. Like it's worth reading as well to continue the series. I then read volume one of a manga that I really need to continue, and that is The Summer That Hikaru Died. This is kind of like a horror, slice of life horror, I almost want to say, because it has kind of got that very like sweet elements to it, but it's very much a horror as well. It's also queer. It is about a high school boy who disappears one summer and comes back changed, and it turns out that he died and was possessed by a demon, and his best friend notices that and it's like their relationship going forward there. And I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. The first volume kind of was just setting everything up, and that's all we know. So I'm intrigued to see where this one goes. I then read book 7 in the Murderbot Diaries, and this is System Collapse. This is one of the 2 full-length novels in this series. This is the last one we currently have out as well, and I'm so sad that I finished all of these books. I just really enjoy them. The audiobooks of these are fantastic. The narration is just so well done. So I did actually end up reading this as audio, which I do really enjoy. But if you haven't picked up the Murderbot Diaries, I highly recommend, especially since they're getting an Apple TV show sometime in the near future. It's very sarcastic in its humor and just so fun, and Murderbot is such a lovable character. These are sci-fi novellas with, like I said, 2 full-length novels, both like 300 and something pages. They're quite short still. And it's about this sec unit who hacks their own mainframe and system so that they can watch dramas and soaps, and it was just really funny and seeing all the chaos that they get into. I then read Road to Ruin by Hana Lee. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I wasn't actually expecting to like it as much as I did. I was just struggling with fantasy. Like I could get through like short sci-fi things, and like Feybound was another thing, but like more high fantasies, or I don't know, I was just struggling with a lot of the fantasy books that I typically do enjoy. And I picked this up on a whim. One of my mutuals was talking about it ages ago and it sounded really cool. And I came across one copy in the shop, so I decided to buy it. And I absolutely loved this book. It was so much fun. I cannot wait for book 2, which comes out mid this year, and it's just so great. This is a Mad Max inspired queer fantasy. We've got an amazing world, amazing characters. It's really short as well. Like this is just over 350 pages. It's less than 400 pages. And so much happens in this, but it doesn't feel rushed at all. And it was really one of my favorite reads of the month. As I was starting to get more back into fantasy reading, I decided to pick up The Shadow of Wings by C.C. Davy. This is book 2 in the Witchling Chronicles. It's the sequel to Heliacal Rising, which I read a year ago now and really enjoyed. Unfortunately for me, Shadow of Wings was just not as good as Heliacal. It was still really good, but I just didn't like it as much. I liked that we got to explore a lot more of the characters, in like different characters than we did in book 1, but this is just very much setting up everything for book 3. So it is kind of that stepping stone book in a way. And I'm very nervous but very excited for book 3. I need to try and track down a copy before it gets trad published. These are really fun romanticies. They are high fantasy as well. You've got a world where there is witchlings, these people that can control different powers and have different abilities and stuff. And in book 1, we follow a young girl and her brother who have been orphaned after this horrific incident that happened with her family. And it's kind of about her recognizing her own power and fighting back against the people that are looking after her and are really just keeping her prisoner. It is very much like a supporting women's wrongs kind of book, but not as extreme as others. I just really adored this. And if you're in the boat for a spicy romantasy with really kick-ass female characters that is also queer and has so many amazing characters and polyamorous relationships and so many different dynamics, it is just perfect. It's got some of my favorite characters in it that I'm really excited to explore more of in book 3. Then I read a Christmassy novella on Christmas Eve, and this was Merry and Bright by Jen, and this was so cute. I cannot wait to read more of Jen's other books. This is the first one I read. This is like a 93-page novella, and she just packs so much into it, and it is so well crafted. It's got amazing characters, and it's just a really cute and perfect, easy read. It's something I want to get a physical copy of so I can read every Christmas, just because I feel like it's got such perfect vibes. And even though I'm in Australia and it doesn't snow here, I feel like it's still the perfect Christmas read, you know? But this follows two characters, one who works at a bookshop and the other one who works at a bakery and is a baker. And it's just really cute how their relationship grows and progresses and their dynamic. And I just found it so adorable and so fun. I then read my absolute favorite book of the year and the month, and that was The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I did a reading vlog where I read this and two other books I will be mentioning, but this is just phenomenal. It was soul crushing. I cried so many times reading it, but it was also just the perfect conclusion to this trilogy, and I'm so happy I did finally finish it. The fifth season is a sci-fi fantasy book set in a world where every few centuries we have these fifth seasons where the world kind of ends and humanity has to rebuild. You have people that survive it, people that don't. It's a very tough time to get through, obviously, but everyone always rebuilds. We've also got people that are called Origins. I don't remember how to pronounce it. I'll need to listen to the audio book or search up the pronunciation. But these are people that can like sense earthquakes and tremors and like volcanic eruptions and tsunamis and either make it happen or stop it from happening or like make it bigger. And these people are very much not favored in this society. They're put away in this facility and trained to be used by the government. And there's some very horrific things that happen to this. This is such an incredible series. It deals with family relationships, mother-daughter relationships, racism, imperialism, oppression, all sorts of different things, and it just does it so incredibly well. The second last book I read in December was Mistletoe. This is a little monster romance novella. This is by Kimberly Lemming. It's like the book 1.5 in the Mishap series. I thought this was really fun. It's really sweet, a really quick and easy read as well. It's like 60 pages. If you love monster romances and want a Christmassy one, this is the perfect one to pick up. The final book I read was Rouge by Mona Awad. I still don't really know how I'm going to rate this book and what all my thoughts and feelings are. It's definitely one I need to reread. I just took a huge gap in between starting this book and finishing this book just because I was really struggling to pick it up again. But the last few chapters I really enjoyed and really like made the book for me. So it's something I would definitely like to come back to. But this is just such an interesting take on mother-daughter relationships again, and the societal pressures on women and beauty standards and the skincare industry and beauty industry. And it's just got so many different weird elements that I really think I need to take another look at. But it is just such a weird and wonderful book that I really still enjoyed. I think I do like Bunny a bit more, but maybe on a reread I could like this one more. But those were all the books I read in December. Now for the ones I'm planning to read in January. I'll start with the ones that I'm currently reading. First, we've got Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have read this once before. I did it on audio, but I honestly don't remember a single thing that happened. I've actually taken a mini break from reading this just because I've been picking up some fantasies. But I'm currently about 60 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really funny, and I'm really excited to see where it progresses because I honestly don't remember anything that this book is about or what happens entirely, like the intricate details. So I'm very excited, and then I will finally watch a Pride and Prejudice adaptation because I've never seen one of those either. I've been waiting till I read the book. The next book I am currently reading is for my book club on Fable. It is The Farseer Readers, and we have just started The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, book one in the Farseer trilogy. This is really depressing, but really good. Robin Hobb's writing is just so beautiful and really like transports you to this world and to be with these characters. It is very sad though. This follows Fitz, who is a young boy. When he's like 6 years old, he gets given up by the family that's raised him because he's the bastard son of a prince and gets given back to the keep and the stuff, and is basically just like given around, not really found his own place, and he gets trained up to be an assassin so that his skills can be used for the crown rather than against the crown. And it's really interesting to see where this starts to progress. It's such a cool fantasy world, and I really can't wait to explore more. I'm also reading another fantasy, and that is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong, and I am in love with this book. I tried to read it quite a few months ago, but it was like when my fantasy slump was starting, so I didn't get far at all, and I am really enjoying it. I'm actually reading it on my e-reader, but I bought a physical copy because I want to read it again and annotate it, so I've been slowly transferring my annotations from that one into this one. But I'm almost 200 pages through and I'm really enjoying it. This is such an interesting and fun fantasy world. It's very reminiscent of Avatar in ways. You've got people that can control different elements, you've got samurais as well. It is a war story. It is so epic and beautiful and infuriating at the same time, and I can just tell this is going to be one of my favorite reads. And I'm just so excited to get through more of it. I'm also currently reading Power Unbound by Freya Mask. This is the third and final book in the Last Binding trilogy, I believe. I'm listening to this on audio and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really excited to see where this goes. These are historical romance fantasy books about magic and magicians and these hidden elements that they're trying to use to take away everyone's magic. And it's got like this overarching plot throughout the three books, and they each follow three different characters or like focus on like different characters in each book. And I just love them so much. They're so fun. They're so sweet. Book two is kind of like the worst out of them so far. I just feel like it was quite lackluster, but I'm really enjoying this one, and it helps that I really love these characters. I have a little novella on my TBR as well. This is from my 12 Books by 12 Friends challenge, and one of my friends, Murphy, recommended Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I sent a group of friends a photo of my bookshelf to help me pick some off my physical TBR, and this was one of them. This is a sapphic horror novella about cannibalism. I don't remember much else besides that, but it is quite short, and I'm probably going to try and get to it really soon because I've heard such good things, and so many people keep rating it 5 stars, and I just cannot wait to read it. I also have a library book on my TBR, and that is The Gilded Crown. This is by Marianne Gordon. This looks like it's a romantasy, and that's why I never picked it up. But a few of my friends have been reading it and raving about it lately and really loved it, so I'm really excited to give it a go. I don't really remember what it is about. They just told me that I would love it, and it's got necromancers in it, and it is queer, so that's all I really need to know in order to pick this up. And I'm very intrigued to see how I go with this one. I believe book 2 is coming out very soon as well, but I'm just so mad that this has got a fucking romantasy cover when it's about necromancers. Like, what about this cover screams necromancers? I really don't understand. I'm also planning on trying to get to a reread that this month, and that is of The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I read this a while ago as audio, but I really don't remember a whole heap of it. I like know enough, but I wouldn't say I know enough to dive into book 3 and to remember everything, just because it's been so long since I have picked these up, and I can tend to struggle with fantasy on audio if it's not like the right fit for me, which I think I just really should have read these physically. But the third and final book, The Lotus Empire, I believe, comes out on the 11th of February for me in Australia. So I want to try and reread The Jasmine Throne and then The Oleander Sword, so I can try and get to the Lotus Empire either next month or in March, because I really need to start finishing these series that I start picking up. So I'm very excited for this one. These are like political high fantasy set in like a Southeast Asian inspired world, and they're sapphic. There is so much destruction in these from my memory. They're very, very political, and I just absolutely adore these characters, so I'm very excited to delve back into this and to pick up on all the things that I missed on my first read through. The final book I'm hoping to read is The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I'm actually really intimidated by this one. I don't know how I'm going to go. I want to read these books, but I'm also a bit hesitant just because it's such a long series. They're such chunky books. People have said that it like drops off in the middle, and I just don't know if I can commit to that. But I really want to give it a go, especially since one of my mutuals on TikTok is doing a book club for it. It did start in December, so I really need to get a wiggle on and pick this book up. But I'm just terrified. I also cannot tell you what this book is about. We'll see how we go. I do want to read it. I'm just genuinely so intimidated by this series and don't know if it's something I would want to continue just because it's so long. I don't know. Please tell me you love this book. Please hype it up for me. Please convince me to read this series just because I am so intimidated. But these are all the books I have finished reading in December and the books I'm planning on reading this month. I am very excited for all of the ones that I'm currently reading and I'm going to be picking up. But let me know what your favorite book you read in December was, and if you have read any of these ones on my TBR, and what your thoughts and feelings are and which one you think I should pick up next. But I will see you guys another time with another video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.